Welcome to Church 3.0, presented by Apollos, a podcast where we explore the nuances of modern Christian culture and the challenges of cultivating community while maintaining impact and relevance in the church. Join Tyler Vance, COO of Apollos, as he talks to church leaders from around the world to gain a deeper understanding of the Christian faith in a modern context. Push boundaries, change lives, create a more hopeful future.
Hey guys, today I have a super special guest with us, Liz from Willow Creek Church. So you guys might know her. We'll talk about what she does. We'll do all the intros and things like that, but she's an old friend of Apollos. But first I want to click in, top of the mind question off the bat. Liz, are you a coffee snob?
I'm not a coffee snob. I
Okay,
drink my coffee
define.
black. My
Okay,
husband roasts his own beans. He's very extra. We like very different coffee. So, he likes the coffee that tastes like battery acid, and I like just a medium roast. But I'm not
okay,
gonna drink Keurig.
okay, all
I like a
right,
pour over. I
okay,
have just a coffee pot, but
okay,
not a
all
snob.
right.
Not a snob.
It feels like if you were leaning a direction, it might be coffee snob.
I'm married
It
to a coffee snob.
okay, so you have a preference towards snobbery in coffee. That's
Maybe. Maybe.
I love it. I am a super huge fan of coffee, and I am in nowhere near a coffee snob, but I do I just don't like crappy coffee.
That's
So
convincing.
yeah, that's it. Excellence matters in everything that we do. If it's worth doing well. These are some of my old DNA quotes. They might
It's
be
it's
on the
good.
walls of the place I spend a lot of time. So
Like, it can be beans from Trader Joe's, but you need to grind it in a burr grinder, you know?
I definitely do agree with that.
Okay,
Like there's
great.
minimum viable is ground in a burr grinder. So I did not think we'd get to that level of detail. I just
It's important.
yeah. I recently had a conversation with a guy that was like, "I'm a coffee snob." And I was like, "Tell me what that means." And he's like, "Keurig has these filters so you can put your
Nuh-uh.
own coffee in." And I was like, "I don't think we're on the same page, buddy."
No.
So anyways, Liz, at Willow Creek, you lead so many things. And you've been on the team for a long time. In
Yep.
fact, you just a few weeks ago led through another senior pastor transition, and maybe we want to click into that. But why don't you tell people, like, what does your day-to-day look like as far as the influence you have over
Yeah.
Willow Creek as an organization?
Yeah, I am technically, I think my title is the marketing, communications, and digital pastor at Willow. So I oversee a handful of things. Our team kind of functions similar to an internal creative agency. So we serve all of our campuses, all of our ministries with uh, digital platforms, app, website, um, social media,
Mm,
graphic design, video work, written communications, stuff like that. Anything that's printed, designed, etc., goes through our team. And we've got a really cool operation on how we do all of that. I also oversee our online church. So
mm,
um, each Sunday, I'm logging on as the online pastor. I lead the volunteers who help facilitate
wow.
that. And so I'd say that's kind of it. And then helping to drive our digital strategy, try new things, market well, reach new people, invite them in. Ultimately, we say our goal is to make the complex clear and the clear compelling, because
Mm,
large churches can be confusing at times. We've got a lot of things to offer. So helping to streamline those pathways for people to know where they belong, to get connected, to plug in, and to make a difference in the world. So that is
wow.
kind of my job in a nutshell.
That's a whole lot of plates spinning at
Yeah.
one time. Um, how do you navigate, like deep work priorities in the middle of that?
Yeah, I have a really great team around me. So our team is divided into three sub teams. We've got our communications and content team, our creative team, and then our operations team. And one thing we've worked really hard at doing is building a diverse team in
Mm,
kind of all senses of the word, and making sure that we understand each person's strengths and where they fall into a particular project process. So I'm
mm.
like an ideas person. And as soon as we like lock a scope for a project, they walk me out the room because I will quickly derail something, because
Yeah.
I won't stop coming up with ideas. And so a lot of it has been building a team that I trust, that is leaning into
Mm,
their strengths and knowing when they got it. I don't have to micromanage it. I love being
mm,
surprised by the things my team does because they're really good at what they do. And then it gives me the opportunity then to contribute my unique contribution to the
mm.
organization, because we all have a part to play.
Yeah, one of the things I've found in leadership is when you give someone the ability, and Lencioni talks about this in one of his books, Three Signs of a Miserable Job. But when you give someone the ability to clearly understand how their role impacts top line organizational goals or KPIs,
Mm,
they have the ability to go and dream and do that on their own.
yeah.
What's one of the ways that you like a quick nugget for leadership if you're out there and someone's leading and they're going, how do I tie this to the top line of what
Hmm.
matters to my church? How might they do that?
That's a good question. Two things come to mind. The first is always telling stories. Being in a
Mm,
marketing and communication role, we're not necessarily on the front lines of ministry.
sure.
So, making sure that everything we do, if we hear a nugget on a marketing campaign that led to somebody coming to our church and they got baptized, making sure my team knows that the graphic they made for that ad caught
Yeah,
somebody's eye and it changed their life. So I try to tie all of those things back. When I hear those stories, when I have those encouragements, make sure I call out with specificity to the people who played a part in that.
that's
The
good.
other thing we do is we make sure that we're serving together too. When you are in more of a operational type role, my team all rotates in hosting online where we get to pray with
Mm,
people. We get to get them connected and encourage them.
golly.
And that makes a big difference because it's easy to just think, I'm sending an email. I'm updating a website. I'm filming another talking head video.
Yeah.
But we start to see the way that those things are impacting people's
Speak
lives.
speak to
Yeah.
my heart there, Liz. We oftentimes work in the church, but we think that is the work of the church in us
Yeah.
and through us, and those two things are very separate. My 8 to 5 is not my Christianity.
Totally.
Um, so and just a
Yeah.
little PSA for those out there that maybe struggle with that.
Yeah. One more
I
thing. I think the other thing that's important that I found with the team is um right sizing the importance of what we do.
mm,
I've been on staff for 13 years now, and there were times when my job, how I was doing, was really dependent on how I was performing, like my
ooh,
emotional and spiritual state. So
mm-hmm,
I always tell my team, nobody's going to die over a typo. Like, I want to hold a high level of excellence and have grace at the same time.
yeah,
And so, making sure people understand the importance of what they do, but not overly sacrifice for it is really, really important because at the end of the day, we all have a small piece to play for a short season, whatever that may be. And we're going to leave. We're a blip. The hope is that we can be faithful to what God's called us
yep,
to, do our
yep,
best, and then let the rest go. We don't need to stay up late all night. We don't need to be tied to our phones. It's going to be okay. And so that has helped people find that balance and operate from a place of fullness instead of fear or anxiety about what's going to happen. I've made plenty of mistakes in my career, and trying to untangle your identity from your work in the church has been a huge thing that I've seen our team get to a really healthy place with.
yeah. I want to dig into a little bit of app for a second, and actually want to talk about the history
Yeah.
of Apollos because you're an OG. But as a segue there, I actually want to disagree completely with something you said.
Do it.
Um, when you talk about app, website, your digital presence, your social media, you are now the new frontline for ministry.
Yeah, true. It's true.
And how might you reshape that for your team? Because uh, coming from someone that was a pastor at a location, the interactions that I had in the lobby were formed well before I ever got to interact with that person. And they were
Absolutely.
formed by people that serve on your team, and I wasn't at Willow Creek. I want to make that clear, but the roles, the places in the organization, the apps, the websites, the social medias, the YouTube clips, those are the things that are drawing people in. The new
Yeah,
Yelp of the church,
it's
I
true.
would say, right?
No, it's good.
So,
I accept that disagreement.
okay, thank you. And do you now agree, just for personal, just,
You can be right. I agree.
I
I
didn't,
agree.
I did not say, that. So, if you guys don't know, Liz and Willow Creek were one of the original 3 founding members of Apollos. So you guys had a crazy big vision
Mm,
long before anyone else saw what was on the roadmap.
yeah.
Talk to me about what that season was like, why you guys leaned in, what you wanted to be different,
Mm,
and then, how's it going for you?
for sure. So I remember at the time I was maybe just a couple years into a communications role. And Willow was presented with the opportunity to just explore
Mm,
this potential to build something for the kingdom. And so it was me and 2 other people on the Willow staff that flew down to Atlanta for a meeting where we heard from a couple other churches about this vision. And I don't even know if it was called Apollos yet, to be honest. Like I don't know if it had a name. It was just for a vision to build something together that
mm,
would provide a customized digital experience to help our congregants take their next steps in faith. And so it's funny, back in 2017, like, people were still a little leery of data and personalization. They were kinda creeped out when, your microphone would pick something up and serve your ad, or you're in proximity with somebody, and now the thing they
yeah.
like is being recommended to you. And so there obviously was some hesitancy around that. But as churches, we sit on gold mines of data. And so the pastoral potential in using that data was really, really high. At the same time, there was a group of us on Willow's internal team that were trying to figure out how do we personalize spiritual growth for people
Mm,
at the same time. And then the Apollos project idea came up and we said, this is a perfect opportunity. We can do it alone and spend $1 million trying to build something. But as we did research, you realize that a lot of those singular investment products don't always work out. Or we can do it with others where we have shared learnings.
mm,
Um, because one of the beautiful things is the founding through was a church in South Carolina, Florida, and Chicago, which are very, very different
yeah.
demographics, and the challenges we face were all the same.
Mm,
So, I loved that about the project and
yeah.
this vision that we like to say that our people are unique. We all struggle from terminal uniqueness. You don't understand my people, my group, my campus, whatever. Um, but over the course of almost 8 years now, I've had the pleasure of working with churches in very different areas
Yeah.
who all want the same thing and are experiencing the same challenges, and we've been able to find solutions to really help connect and engage our congregants. And so that's been like a fun part of the journey, is really doing it and learning together and imagining what might be on the digital front when historically churches are a little behind in that.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, even today we have, I mean, to this day, we still have customers that are like, um, okay, we really want that new thing. Who's already using it? And so they always want someone else
Yeah,
to go first.
it's
And
risky.
yeah, it is risky. And uh, um, it, you guys have paved the way so much for that. And
Mm,
so I want to say thank you for that. Your vision to have daily engagement, what we would call spiritual fitness, to take the church beyond the walls of a Sunday. And I mean, this is so much in Willow's ethos with so much else of what you do, but to bring it to life digitally,
mm,
and then to share that with others
yeah,
is huge.
yeah,
So, um, you're currently leaning into some new things on your side with Apollos, even. And so we talk about some of those new feature sets, some of those new strategies. Part of the community is that I believe everyone is kind of constantly pushing each other to do better, be better, or to at least share ideas on the most simple way to say that.
yeah,
One of the, what are some of the new things you guys are leaning into and trying at Willow?
yeah. So, um, this idea came from another one of the churches, but to do these 21-day cohorts. One thing that the church has is a ton of content. And so, um, always trying to figure out how do we repackage or repurpose our content
Mm,
in a new way to reach new people, but it's still the same content. And
yeah.
so these 21-day cohorts provide a really great opportunity to deliver applicable content to people who may not find it otherwise. Our world's flooded with content. We know this.
Yeah.
YouTube, top search engine, right? But how do we ask the question, like, what do people need and how do we find the answer to it? And so these 21-day cohorts provided a really unique opportunity for us to empower and disciple our congregation, but also reach people with a felt need they had and the
Mm,
truth of the gospel and the power of it to impact their daily life. That's something I'm really, really passionate about is just Jesus matters. He cares about what's in your life right now. Like, it's not just a someday thing. And so
yeah.
these 21-day cohorts, we had a series in the fall of 2024 called Questions Our Kids Are Asking. Our kids are asking new and hard questions that maybe
Very
some of
different. Yeah.
us have not asked before. And so in the series, I saw an opportunity to try one of these 21-day cohorts, and we called it Parenting Teens and Tweens. So the target was all parents of like the 11, 12 to 18-year-olds. So we talked to staff members and we just said, what are the challenges and the lessons and the tools you're using to parent your kids. And
Yeah.
so this was giving them appropriate levels of um, responsibility, learning to ask questions, to get curious about your own story and upbringing. So all of these staff gave this like wealth of information that then we marketed to people outside the church. At the
Mm,
time, we had about 350 people participate in that cohort. About 20% of them were new to Willow,
wow.
had never been in our database. We didn't have any record of them. And that
Yeah.
felt like a really good trial. Then in January of 2025, we did a teaching series called In Conflict. So this is all about the conflict within you, the conflict around you, relational conflict and tensions, the conflict because of you that you cause,
Mm,
and then the conflict far from you. So this felt like a perfect opportunity. There's conflict everywhere in our world right now. In January
yeah.
2025, we were having an inauguration and there was so much internal conflict in people, conflict amongst each other. So we said, let's do a 21-day cohort for this. That one ended up having over 1,200 people sign up. And again,
Wow.
15% of them brand new to Willow. And the hope was to position that before our small groups kick off so that people would get a taste
Yeah.
of it and then move into a small group. So each day, 5 days a week, we would have a video teaching. 2 days a week were just a reflection.
Yeah.
We utilized the communities in Apollos so that people could share and chat and journal about their reflections. And what really surprised me about it was the ripple effects of it.
Mm.
I had one man reach out to me and he said, I'm a chaplain in a prison. I wanted to do this so that I could be a better chaplain. There's a lot of conflict in prisons, and it's impacting my own life, and we've got tons of tablets in the prisons. Is there a way we can get this to them? I had a woman who had her daughter recently move back in with her for some health issues, and she's like, "We are struggling so hard, and I'm rewatching these videos every day to get the language that I need to communicate with my daughter so that we can have a healthy relationship." Another woman reached out and said, I've been going through this content and I realized that my marriage is in a really hard place and I need help. So I was able to connect her with our pastoral team. And so we start to see these, and I'm like, oh, it's a 21-day thing. It'll be cool. And people are like, can I get this after? Can my small group go through this? And so we started to see the ripple effects of that content that
Mm.
we produced that really paired psychology and biblical wisdom in a way that I think helps provide people hope and language for the challenges that they're facing. And it was a blast. Like, I'm so grateful for a tool that we could use
Yeah.
to cultivate that kind of environment.
Well, and I want to click in, like, because you just demonstrated something you talked about earlier. You're constantly encouraging your team to use stories as like the metric,
Yeah.
right? And you just did this, and Liz, so like great leadership. You eat what you cook, is I think the way to say that. But I want to click into it because what we encounter a lot is activity that we
Yeah.
can see digitally, and it's almost like we want to equate that to activity that, like, our old format is like if we have a Bible study and they show up to that Bible study in a room and sit in a seat, we can count that seat.
Mm,
And Kyle Ranson at Crossroads actually talks about this, but in a digital experience, they might show up, they might occupy a space, but they might not never comment. They
yeah.
might never, but they're occupying the space. And so we moved the metric and started counting comments.
Yeah.
And like, okay, this is effective because everyone commented on it. He's like, what we found is like nobody would comment, but everyone would be impacted by it.
Yeah.
And so, like, what have you found in the midst of that? As you share stories out of that, you're not sharing, oh, we had this 21-day thing and we had 1,000 comments out of that, right?
Mm.
Like, what are you finding in that? How would you speak to that for people?
I really do try to focus on those individual connections and stories. Um, because for me, the vulnerability it takes for somebody to raise their hand and share their story or their
Mm,
struggle is just a glimpse into how many people are probably impacted by it, you
yeah,
know? Um, and then I'm also always trying to ask, like, how are we tracking the next steps that people are taking? And so this
yeah,
is where getting people onto the app is really helpful because we know it's not a linear journey. Somebody
yeah,
doesn't just come into the door, they join a small group, they get baptized, they start giving. And so how are we measuring and tracking engagement is hard. That's like the number that everybody keeps trying to figure out, what is it?
yeah,
And so I like to always drive people to something else, that there's no dead ends, and our church is
mm,
so passionate about, making a difference in our world, and so it's like, are our churches looking healthier? Are our neighborhoods looking healthier? And one of the things that was so beautiful is one of our worship pastors was at a gas station filling up his gas, and so somebody saw, like, the truck he was in and asked a question about it. And then the guy was like, I'm actually just like a worship pastor at a church. And the person said, what church do you go to? And he said, Willow Creek. And the guy said, I have never been to that church, but I know that's the church that helps people.
Mm,
And
come
these are
on.
so like unquantifiable. But when
Yeah,
people think
yeah.
about our church, when they comment on social, when they send emails, when you
Yeah.
even a Google review, what's people's experience like? And is it reflective of the heart of Jesus? If it is, then it feels like we're succeeding. Now, there's tons of other things we track, website views,
Sure,
daily
sure.
prayers in the app, etc., all of that kind of stuff. But overall, what is the sentiment towards our church, both internally and externally, really makes a difference. And so that's our
Mm.
goal, is to be a church for our community. That's people look to when they need help, and they look up to as a church that is making a difference in the community.
You also said something that, I think is very intuitive, but, I would ask that you maybe give some more breath around it. The You talked about how you hope people that went through the 21-day cohort, you were designing it with the intentionality that they might get involved in a small
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, like, highlight an assumption that I hear behind the scenes, and that is Willow Creek is assuming that some portion of people will not go from a seat in auditorium to seat in small group
Totally.
without some kind of transition. Can you explain that?
You know, one of our recent visions, we got a new senior pastor in 2020, and he always talked about being more of a sending church than like a seeing church. And he said, I dream of the day when we have more people in small groups than come on our
Mhm.
weekend services. And that's a shift for Willow, that for a long time it was a seeker-friendly church. You bring them, we'll throw out the net, etc. And so this vision for multiplication in our groups and empowering believers to do discipleship has been infused in our church over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So we see evangelism, relational evangelism, in many, many ways. It's not just come to church. Some of it's through the content that we create. Some of it, and we do want people to get into small groups. And so we have different types of groups for different types of growth opportunities. And so we do the rooted curriculum. And so if you're going to lead a small group, you need to go through rooted, and then your small group has to do one rooted rhythm at least. So I did a small group with the intention of reaching some of my non-churched friends. It was a mom's group, and every week we painted. And like,
Okay.
so two of the people in the group were from church. I didn't know them. And then I invited two of my friends that I met through my kids' school. And so that's the heart of what we're doing, is that we're empowering our congregation to facilitate community where people can experience rhythms of faith
Mm.
and Jesus, whether that be around a piece of content or something like painting or pickleball, because we know everybody's entry point is going to be different.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes going to church is too big of a leap. I didn't become a Christian until I was 17. I thought Christians were so weird. The raising your hands thing, like it was
Yeah, yeah.
so weird. So inviting somebody into that where they're singing about the blood of Jesus on stage is a little creepy at times, but somebody might come join your group to roast coffee, right?
Yeah.
And so from there, you start to build a relationship. People start to see the hope that you have in your life, the joy that you have in spite of circumstances. And so it's not one thing, it's a lot of different things,
Mm.
and again, that ties back to the goal of trying to make the complex clear, trying to simplify it for people because there's so many ways that people can get involved, but how do we equip Christ followers with every platform we have
Yeah.
to be the church is kind of the goal. And so it's been a beautiful shift in our church to start to see that number of people involved in small groups rise. Our attendance is
Yeah.
also rising, which is great. but we dream of a day when we have more people in groups than
Mm,
on a weekend. And these cohorts are just one funnel that can lead to a group. You're just
yeah,
trying to give people a taste of what, like, beautiful biblical community looks like.
yeah. Well, and I think let me share a story
Yeah.
because I think it highlights where so many churches are and where so many churches actually miss.
Mm.
Uh, there's a pastor that celebrated a lady that showed up uh, in 2 weeks, 2 weeks before a baptism event, signed up to get baptized, shared a story of how God had changed her life. And so that individual pastor celebrated that complete life change story in the context of what he had. And it was great. And I clicked into it and actually was able to go back and go in a different state. 18 months before that, she had gone through a divorce
Mm.
and started engaging with content about how to navigate divorce when
Yeah.
when your spouse leaves you, and had been engaged digitally the whole time. And at the point where she was finally close to a place that she felt like she could walk in the door,
Mm.
she walked in the door and really got plugged in.
Yeah.
And as a church, I think historically what we've done is we've celebrated those stories without giving credence to all the things that someone has done
Yeah.
before they walked through the doors of our churches. And and in fairness, that's a new thing. We are the
Yeah.
new generation of that happening. But I love that through cohorts, through the technology stack we have at Apollos, we can facilitate those interactions that draw people close. They make them go from unknown to known,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then from known to needed.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's just to talk in the language of Liz, which is stories. Um, I see that, I feel that, but so many of our churches are still celebrating weekend metrics.
Right. 'Cause
And
those are
we're
the easier ones to track.
um
At
I
times. At
yeah,
times.
yeah, it absolutely it is, right? It's easy to count how many seats are filled up in an
Yeah.
auditorium. But I also think it's just the lack of knowing. And so
Mhm.
that's my click into it.
Mm.
Um, so Willow, one of the original founding, you guys are still leaning in, still doing new with the app every day. Tell me about your interactions with the Apollos team.
Yeah. So the Apollos team, it's been a fun journey and a really beautiful one, to say the least, from 2017 to where we are today. I would say, there were many, many years that I felt carried by the Apollos
Mm,
team. So, we started this project in 2017. We were fully in, committed, excited about what's ahead, and then we faced a very public, very challenging leadership crisis in our church that by the fall of 2018, our entire senior level leadership and elder board had resigned. During that time, well, a few things. Now all the content you thought that you were building personalized experiences off of, you no longer have.
sure.
Then, as the communications person, I didn't have a super big team at the time. So much of my energy was going to crisis management and communication. And so to be able to look at New Spring and Christ Fellowship during that time, they were like, "We're gonna keep driving this forward. We got you." They would pray for me, they would encourage me. That was so beautiful and so helpful in a time when I felt like I didn't have so much to offer. Then we continued to work together because you've got people from the New Spring team who are developers, people from the Christ Fellowship team who are like user interface experts. And then me, I've got no developing skills. I'm just a communicator. And so the ways that we were able through different seasons of our churches to encourage one another and offer our skill set to the group has been really, really beautiful.
Mm,
And now The strategy has been refined quite a bit since the 2017 to even 2019 years. I feel like the model is clarified. Apollos is growing, and now it's becoming a beautiful network of churches that are able to help and try things. Hey, we use the app to do this. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I'll try that. And so the meetings that we have with the Apollos churches is really valuable to learn because at the end of the day, we're
Yeah.
all kind of making stuff up and we're trying it and we're praying that God will bless it and hope it works. And there's a beauty in doing it together that somebody can try something, you can learn from them, you can
Yeah.
then apply it to your context. And that's such a gift because that feels like it will outlast a single person instead of I don't want Willow's digital strategy to be built on my wisdom. What happens when I leave?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we can do this together, churches all across the country, it will outlast me, and that's a beautiful thing, and I love that. And so
Yeah.
it'll be better, and it will last longer. So
Yeah. I think, thank you for sharing that. I mean, honestly, it's inspiring to me, but also it's just such a highlight of like, we want to build tools together. We want to be
mm,
great ministry partners at Apollos, but also we want to see what's working
yeah,
and go towards that. We want to move where the water's moving.
yep,
Um, and I mean, to go back to a data point, I've so often in my data leadership in the local church have said like we don't need to utilize data to predict where God might move,
mm,
but we need to utilize data to listen to where God is already moving and join him there. And that's I think to give credence to the technology stack at Apollos allows you to have world-class tools at your disposal, easy to use, or you can make them incredibly complex. But the point is we're trying to move where God is already moving in the hearts of people
yeah,
and give you tools to help you do the same.
mm, it's true.
So, Liz, any final thoughts today? Thank you for spending so much time with me. What would you share as your final wisdom nugget drop? Hot take?
Hot take.
Controversy?
No, I don't have any controversies. I would say that I've been at this for a long time.
Mhm.
And I mentioned this when I talked about my team a bit and the Apollos project, but there's such power in doing it together. Um, I would say that earlier in my career, I probably operated from a little more pride and arrogance. I need to know the thing, I need to have the answer, I need to come up with the best idea. But
Yeah.
there's such a beauty in learning from people and empowering people and knowing that in the grand scheme of things, we are a small piece of the
Just
puzzle,
small.
and there's a lot of freedom in that. And so, as you're leading teams, as you're driving strategy, keep the larger perspective in mind
Mm,
because we are doing this for a few years, but the church has been going for thousands of years. And so release the pressure of yourself on yourself and lean into the invitation to do it with others because that curiosity, that humility will probably lead to a better product. Sometimes collaboration is harder, um, but it's worth it in the long run.
mm. Well said, well said. And Liz, of all the things you have led through many seasons that um, a lot of peers that you have never dreamed of. And
Mm,
you've done it with excellence. You've done it with integrity. You've done it while still having children at home and a coffee snob husband, as you have titled that, not me. Um, and so just thank you for just continuing to show up every day and lean
Yeah.
in. And those are not easy things to do. So thank you for hanging
Appreciate
out with
it.
me, and thank you for being a part of Apollos.
Yeah.
We love Willow Creek and what you guys are doing, and love every day getting to jam with you guys on how might we, which is our like internal
It's the
phrase.
best
How
question to
might
ask.
we?
Yes.
So
Yep.
thank you. Have a
Cool.
great day.
You too.